I think it's obvious that we will not succeed in reclaiming the Dutch iGaming market from illegal operators if players decide to forgo the legal market and actively choose illegal alternatives. In short, if we want to reclaim the market, we can't do it without the players. But how to convince them? Can we even do it without at least some amount of marketing? Here to debate these questions are Dr. Andreas Ditsche, CEO of iGaming.com. Please come to the stage, Andreas. Richard Dennys, the CEO of Mr. Gamble. And as moderator, Martin van Geest, who's co-founder of Meneer Casino, who will moderate this discussion. Welcome to the stage.
Please take a seat.
We're socially separated.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Willem. Indeed, this will be a panel discussion about marketing. I think you already introduced the two panelists. I have to say, for full disclosure, Richard is my former boss. Yeah. So now finally I'm going to be the one who gets to ask the tough questions. So thank you for that opportunity. But before we jump in the panel discussion, I would like to paint a picture using some data that we received from Blask. For those of you who are not familiar with Blask, this is a business intelligence platform that's focused on the iGaming industry. And after the panel discussion, their chairman of the board of advisors, Jeffrey Haas, will give a more detailed presentation on the platform. For now, I would like to show you these data. These are based on search behavior by Dutch consumers. In April 2026, Blask found 28 licensed brands that people were searching for in significant numbers. But also, they found 215 unlicensed brands that people were actively searching for. So that's a lot. And among those 215 brands, 21 were new brands that popped up in a period of February through April this year. So 21 new brands that people in the Netherlands started searching for. Now, the big question, of course, is these 215 brands, what kind of market share do they have? And Blask also has data on this. Here you see a trend over time, starting at the very beginning of the regulated online gaming market in the Netherlands. In October 2021, many well-known brands didn't have a Dutch license yet, so it makes sense that people were still searching for them. For example, Unibet and Leo Vegas didn't have a Dutch license. And so the share of the unlicensed brands was 26.2%. Now, 1 year later, or a little over a year later, that figure had dropped to 6.6%. So we can say that by end of 2022, the regulation was a huge success because hardly anyone was looking for unlicensed brands. And that indicates that players were finding what they were looking for in the legal market. So great. But since then, every year, the share of the brand interest share of the unlicensed brands has gone up. And the most recent figure is 13.8% in March 2026. That's about 1 in 7 searches by Dutch players is for unlicensed brands. The slide says 1 in 8, but it's actually a little worse. Now, how did we get there? I think there are two parts of the story. One has been discussed extensively, and that's that regulation can make the legal product less attractive. And this tracks with the presentation that Josh from H2 gave this morning. So bonuses are lower in the legal market. There are some game restrictions. RTPs have gone down in the Dutch market considerably over the past 3 years. Josh mentioned there are illegal operators offering slots with 100% RTP. I have seen in the Dutch market earlier this year slots with an RTP of only 91%. That's a huge difference. And players will notice and they will seek out alternatives. That mechanism we know. But what I rarely hear about is that there's also a marketing side to why the channelization has been dropping. And I'd like to paint the picture. If we look at the types of players that go to the black market, those are mostly the highest spending gamblers. And the recreational players, they will mainly stay in the legal market. What does that mean for marketing? If you're an illegal operator, you will get players who on average spend much more than the players that are in the legal market. So you can spend much more on player acquisition per player. You can spend more on SEO. You can outbid legal operators when you're bidding for PPC ads. You can pay much higher commissions to affiliates. And meanwhile, the average spend per player in the legal market drops. So legal operators can spend less on acquisition per player. So inadvertently, the regulation right now and the high tax rate have created what I would call a perverse marketing segmentation. And the government has actually made illegal operators very happy because they're being handed the most valuable players on a silver platter. And at the same time, the legal operators have to market a product that many players see as inferior, and they have much lower budgets to do so than their illegal competitors. And so this is a second mechanism that I think is not often talked about, but that's also a reason why the channelization rate has dropped, apart from that the product itself has become less attractive in the legal market. Now, I don't think we're going to solve this in the coming 15 minutes, but I'm very happy that we're here with two marketing experts, I may say, in the iGaming sphere. So I'd like to kick off with just a general question to you both. Do you recognize the dynamic I just described, where legal operators and also legal affiliates like yourself have a harder time marketing the product as the regulation becomes stricter and taxes go up? Mr. Ditsche, maybe you can go first.
We see the same. Actually, we have done a very similar exercise for German data. And let me put together why we have a challenge. What you say, we have 200 and some illegal operators that people are looking for. What people are looking for, in our experience, is not the operator, it is terms. They look no tax, high payout, no registration, and then the result will be the illegal operators. And even if you catch them as an affiliate on your page, they will bounce back because they will immediately see, oh, I don't find it. They leave the website and Google concludes, doesn't deliver what is expected, and you drop ranking. So to be precise, there's hardly any search for specific operators or casinos because people just don't know them. So they want to have the function, and I would be surprised if anyone here is able to mention 50 different casinos. Mm-hmm. They are not known by the brand, but by what they offer. And when you are limited to legal offerings, you cannot fulfill a big portion of the search volume. But what we first and foremost found when we researched that is 95% of the people do not care at all if it's legal or not. They just search and then they play or they play not. They just want to
have the best product that meets
their...
Yes,
and actually the search for functions that are legal or illegal, that dwindled away. So over the last years, people care less and less if it's legal or not.
No, and they're following games and they follow their friends. It's a peer group thing.
Yep.
I mean, you and I have got a good view on this because we've got multi-market and we're seeing all over. I think maybe another thing to point out is that how affiliates like us make our money. We get it from a bounty when we introduce a new player. So we're incentivized for new players, and then we take a share of the losses. So we are kind of, you could argue that the actual whole business model of what we do is designed to encourage much more gambling. And then as you were saying in your note earlier, when you bring in deposit limits, the entire VIP books of some operators just disappear into the ether, and those people are not stopping gambling. They're carrying on, but they're just finding another way. People are very inventive. in the end of the day, those high-value players are also, they've got a level of addiction, and they will find the way to gamble wherever they can. They're very smart.
Right.
And then the other thing on top of that is that, you know, we're responsible. We do our best to do the right thing. We've got institutional investors or backers, but a lot of these other players, you know, they don't have that background. They're very small. They're often very experienced gamblers themselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, in fact, I haven't really met an affiliate founder that wasn't a gambler originally, and then they know how to play the game, and they like risk, and they're taking those risks to try and beat the system, because that's beating the system is what they're on the planet for, and so therefore they're very, very inventive and innovative. And the biggest innovation in this industry is not players, it's not operators, it's affiliates, and finding ways to the players that they're not supposed to be finding.
Yes. So, Andreas, if you cannot compete as a legal affiliate or legal operator on product, what can you compete with? What is your comparative advantage?
It's a good question. I think we have answered it reasonably well, otherwise we would have disappeared from the market.
Yeah.
So what counts is trust, especially for the recreational or casual player. It is being reliable, and in the end, it's a management decision that you give up 30, 50, 70% of the accessible market. So competition means we give up. We give up the majority of the market we could address if we would say, let's move to a country where they do not get us. Don't think about ethics, morale, and law, and just cash in. So I think the question, can you compete, is no, we cannot compete for the full market, and you should choose your battles wisely. I live in a country where you have a 1,000 euro limit per month. You don't even have to try to catch a high roller, because they must play somewhere else.
Yes. So maybe would it be an idea if the marketing from the legal operators and affiliates would focus more on the risks of playing with black market operators? Is that an idea you've thought about, maybe, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, if I just wind back the question, how do you compete? How do we compete? What's the competitive landscape we look at? And you know, you and I worked together for a couple of years, and that, to be honest, it's the Google landscape. It's who can be appearing in the searches for, I need a new casino, I want to play a new game. That's the competitive landscape that we sit in. So it's not necessarily, the first point of thinking is not actually how do we beat them, how do we do this. It's just how do I write content that Google likes better, that's going to make me number one in the search, that's going to give me 20 times the volumes to then convert into a new player that I referred. So, you know, that is changing. The way that people consume media these days of the next generations is not the same as how it was. Thank you. Okay. Yes, you know, things are changing now. So the next generation of players are not finding casinos the way that they used to. And even though I am CEO of Mr. Gamble, I'm also doing M&A for much smaller businesses and seeing how they operate. And there's some very smart companies out there doing some pretty interesting things where they're getting around lots of different gateways to try and find the audience in as quickly a way as they can.
So it's not just about the product you market, but just getting the message out there and being visible.
Exactly. So it's the player offer relationship that we own, and then we basically lend the offer to the operators, and then they pay us in commissions. That's the model.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Do you think that as legal market participants, we have some sort of advantage over the black market in that we can be more transparent and be out there as people? We're here on stage, but maybe also online. It makes a difference if we can show ourselves as people, whereas the black market actors cannot. Is that an advantage that we have or that we should use?
For me, absolutely, it's an advantage. You can play this advantage for players who have decided to play in the legal market, if they are aware at all. And I also think you have a social responsibility. I strongly believe it's a conscious decision to follow rules. We could have decided otherwise. And it's also you are at ease with yourself. And sometimes I listen to the discussions and the talks this morning. It sometimes feels like this is a pure gambling industry thing, and we talk about tax rates and everything. But in our daily life, imagine you need a handyman for a little repair in your house. Think of yourself, who of you gets an invoice for that? Which handyman wants to come? Is it text or not? And it's a decision what you do. And I would say when you decide to operate in any kind of business, you go after it. And to come back to your question, in my opinion, people want to have easy answers. We get answers by AI. They are 6 lines of text. We do not scroll, we do not click. So that means instead of providing information about deposit limits, etc., like, let's say, Star Trek and Mr. Spock is not what we want. We want to have a campfire and the uncle who tells a story and says, play there, trust me, don't think. And this is the wish with an attention span of 8 seconds of generation TikTok we have to deliver, and that is trust and people.
Yeah, but there's a gap between reality and fantasy there, because if you look at the search volumes and what people are searching for, it's non-gam stop, things to get around self-exclusion. I think I sent you something last night from the UK.
Yeah.
What are the 2 reasons why UK uses illegal gambling? It's one to get around self-certification after their addiction takes hold of them, and the other one is to use cryptocurrency because they don't want to be seen to be gambling on their bank statements because that can hurt their credit risk rating. So all this friction that's putting in place, people are smart, or they're desperate, and they'll get around it. And the search volumes, we're always looking at what demands there. It's an industry, really, is to try and understand what people are searching for in their intent.
Yeah.
Because that converting that intent is how we make our money.
Yes.
So yeah, it's interesting. And the profile, I said again, the profile of these really innovative affiliates doing marketing is very young. They live a lifestyle. They're making hundreds of thousands a month in commissions. There's 3 of them. They drive a Ferrari and wear nice watches and all that kind of stuff. And they've got no incentive to change. They're not the same as us.
No.
They haven't got families and friends and everything else. They're living in a nice outpost somewhere and hiding their tax and sitting under a fake UBO in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah. So we shouldn't even try to compete with these.
No. All we can do is support regulated markets.
And Richard, is there another country that, in your opinion, has found a realistic balance between strict regulation and a viable product that consumers actually want?
Short answer, no. Longer answer, some are better than others. I mean, Sweden was good. It's got a bit worse. I mean, I think you're going to mention Alberta coming.
I can talk about that one. That's
Finland's coming. That looks like a road crash.
Yeah.
Denmark's okay. Norway, let's see what happens there. Netherlands is. I mean, I think the KSA plays a very strong and positive role here, in a good way. I mean, compared to a lot of regulators, the KSA. I know that you're just sitting there, but you should be reassured by that.
Andreas, you just came back from Canada.
Yes. And that was a stunning experience for me. So we had 2 ministers there. It was interesting what the scope of one of the ministers was. It was tourism, culture, and gambling. And I heard sentences like, we do not have the big red button to stop gambling, so let's make the best out of it. Tax income, investments, jobs, and let's do it responsibly. I was approached by a minister who said, you are from Europe, you are one of the biggest affiliates, here's my card. He took out a pen, this is my personal phone number, and if you have any need for support in order to get your feet on the ground here, call me. And I would be very happy to have a discussion about how far we have to reduce the tax rate to increase the tax income in the legal market. So he started a discussion about the Laffer curve, and I said, holy moly, I cannot remember any single discussion anywhere in Europe where you had this closeness to a lawmaker, not the regulator, the lawmaker, and a super open discussion. And I think this is the way where you say it's difficult to find the prime examples how you can do it extremely well for what they want to achieve. They do well, and channelization rate is an undisputed 91%, and it's going up. Amazing.
Very different from here, both culturally and
Yes,
regulatory.
yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being here. I think our time is up. Willem, I don't know if there are also questions from the audience?
Yes,
or?
there's one question. A bit disappointing by the tough questions to Richard, but maybe we can do that later during the drinks. Richard, I think there was one question from the audience here. If the idea is to use trust to acquire customers, how does it fit with the use of AI and LLMs? You referenced it before.
Trust is the most important thing. We were talking earlier in the drinks, actually. If you look at someone like Stake, which is a massive, massive crypto casino, they spend a lot of money, hundreds of millions on building their brand to be trusted. That doesn't mean they're licensed or regulated. They're trusted. And trust goes over the top of regulation.
I can say a word to that. In the end, for smaller players, it's important that you brand people, make them visible, and give them trust. So that means sitting on a stage like here, publishing papers and doing stuff like that, and LLMs will show you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Martin, Andreas, Richard, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Echt leuk.
Thanks
Thank you. See you later. We'll grill you later. Or Martin will. Great. And thank you again for a very engaging and interesting panel.